Hello friends, Clage back with another Punishing Grey Raven guide today, and we are going to be talking about our brand new and totally free ice tank, Wanshi Lucid Dreamer. So the ice team gets a major shore up here as we are finally able to retire Chrome Glory. Chrome, thank you for your service, sir. Appreciated as always. But we have a new tank in the house, and everybody is going to be able to get him absolutely for free, which is the best kind of new character. So, Wanshi, much like Isla Kaleido and Alyssa Echo before him, can be purchased for free in the dispatch shop. It'll cost you 100,000 of the Dorm Doritos to unlock his 50 shards and summon him, but you get to do this completely for free, and you should easily have 100,000 of the Dorm Doritos sitting around if you've been doing your commissions every day. So, absolutely no rolling required to unlock Wanshi, and in addition, he is now added to the voucher shop. We, of course, just rolled over to a new month as I'm recording this on March 1st, so there are 60 discounted shards for you to get Wanshi evolved and working towards triple S or even higher, and everyone can do that. Even the most free-to-play player can take this character to triple S and beyond completely for free as long as you're patient with your vouchers. So, can't beat that. Free characters are always a welcome sight, helps out the free-to-play players a ton, and I'm always glad to see that going on. So, let's go through all the stuff you care about. We'll go through Wanshi's evolutions, his equipment, builds, my recommendations for what evolutions and equipment to prioritize, and of course how to build the teams, and of course how to play the character. But let's start where we always start, with the evolutions for our new ice tank. So S5. When entering his core passive or activating ult, Wanshi will activate all available QTEs, the classic S5 buff. It is pretty much what everyone gets these days. At double S, his bring-in attack will count as a 3-ping, which is very, very useful for getting his rotation going and making it smooth. When he's switched in, he also will gain an extra orb, which is always nice. Upon entering his standoff mode, he will get extra signature energy. This is very handy because this will make it easier for the rotation to stay as it should. At double S, he also is going to increase the amount of glaciation generated. Glaciation is another of the new elemental effects like Plasma Slash, as I discussed in the last guide for Han Ying. This is not implemented yet. We are not really utilizing this yet. There is one event mode that is starting to show how these affixes work. But as for like the main Warzone competitive stuff, these are not active yet. We will talk about Glaciation, Plasma Slash, all that good stuff in the next patch when they become a regular part of the game. So for now, Glaciation buffs can be ignored. The last part of the double S upgrade is the damage of his revolver spam attack and his air attack are doubled, so a notable increase. Double S is the bare minimum for Wanshi to function as he is intended to be played, so this should be your highest priority first and foremost as a free character. Getting him to double S is very, very easy to do. At double S3, Wanshi gains 10% more Ice Shred, taking it to a total of 35%, which is very good for an elemental tank. His standoff mode and his reload strike both do more damage, and he gains more orbs after using his air attack sequence. So that extra shred is a very notable buff. The extra damage on his main attack modes is also a notable buff. This is a very nice S3, and it's an easy recommend from me since he is free to build. You can get here by just hoarding vouchers over time and purchasing the discounted ones. So a worthwhile double S3, but it does not lock any of his gameplay out either. At triple S, we will get another 10% Ice Shred. This takes Wanshi's total shred up to 45%, which is massive for an elemental tank. He also will be able to do more damage when he gets to 30 stacks in his airborne ult, which is very, very nice to have. On top of that, he will do more glaciation damage. Again, we will talk about glaciation once we get to that next patch. Don't sweat it right now. And in addition to all of that, he also gets more ult damage after using standoff mode, and the team cooldown is reduced by 3 seconds for swapping characters in. This is very handy. It allows you to get more procs off Da Vinci, and of course smooths out swapping between characters, which you will be doing in Ice Warzone regularly going forward. Triple S 3, 6, and plus are the standard stuff. His core passive gets increased damage. his core passive attack modes get increased damage, and his ultimate gets increased damage. So nice things to have, definitely not required, but since he is completely free, you can get there over time if you really want to take Wanshi to the maximum. So that covers the evolutions. Let's go ahead and talk about memory builds. So the Ice Team memory builds are a little complicated, and by that I mostly mean they're very flexible depending on how invested each of your characters are. But I'm going to go over what I'm using and try and explain my thought process, and feel free to adjust for what fits your account the best. But for Warzone and longer fights where Wanshi actually sees the field, first and foremost, you will want his 4-piece listing. This is his signature set, gives him all the kit specific bonuses, always a must on any new character. And then I am going to be running 4-piece Chinjian as his other set by putting 2 on and then harmonizing the other 2. A lot of builds will have Chu holding Chinjian, but since my Chu is triple S and is still the main damage dealer for the Ice Team, and will be for almost all of you unless you have a very low invested Chu and your Wanshi's up past triple S, Chu is still going to be the damage carry of this team. What I prefer to do personally is to have Wanshi carry Chinjian, and this allows Chu to carry Kadi, which boosts her ultimate damage a lot. I'll go over this in more detail in the team building section, but just note that Chinjian is not a hard and fast lock to this character. There are other options, and if you don't have Chu at all and you're using an older Ice DPS like, say, Bambinata or Lucia Plume, and you have Isla being your sub DPS, you can opt to have one of them carry Chinjian instead, and then let Wanshi carry Kadi to increase his own ultimate damage. But with the meta Ice Team, this is the everyday driver memory set I would personally recommend. Feel free to adjust again based on your own account. As for Pain Cage, Wanshi will not be seeing the field in Pain Cage. If you have Chu and have her built, she will be the one murking the bosses. So Wanshi will swap over to a Da Vinci bot setup. He will take the 4-piece Da Vinci and keep on 4-piece Jin Juan for the ice boost. You don't need to hypertune or resonate the top of any of these since Wanshi is not seeing the field. If you have the extra resonance materials, you can put the class skill bonus on the bottom of the set. Very nice just for the extra shred and bonus to the tank skills. On the Warzone set, you'll want to resonate any 15 attack up top. If I can click on the right thing here. 15 attack up top, doesn't matter what the second modifier is, and on the bottom you will want to resonate his signature move. Is again, with like most characters, that is where all the damage lies. So those are his 2 main memory builds. We'll go over the ins and outs and finer details of this when I go over the teams, but if you are going to be putting Wanshi on the field, this is the build you're going to want to be using. And if you're going to be using PPC, he becomes the Da Vinci buffing bot. So up next, let's talk weapons. So free-to-play players will be very happy to know that Wanshi does not need his 6-star weapon whatsoever for his rotation to function as intended. His rotation stays exactly the same and works exactly the same as it would with a 5-star weapon. The only difference for the 6-star weapon is it does double the damage of his core passive attacks out of standoff mode. This is a notable damage increase, obviously. But, of course, the real big bonus to having the 6-star weapon is the ability to harmonize. So, in this case, we get the 4-piece full Chinjian bonus. And, of course, the ability to resonate. If you are going to get the 6-star weapon and can resonate it, first and foremost, domain deconstruction. This is what you should always put on with the tanks because the increased resistance shred is always welcome, speeds up the entire team's efficiency. If you want to spend extra resonances and go really hard on Wanshi and his weapon, you can grab either Matrix Liking or Incandescence, depending on what works better for your setup. You can grab all 3 if you're really wailing out, but Wanshi does not need resonance to function, and if you only want to spend 1, domain deconstruction is far and away the best one. You do not ever need deadline timing for Wanshi. He does not have orb problems. This does not make his rotation function any differently, so you will always be doing other resonances rather than bothering with deadline timing. So nice for a free-to-play character to not be locked behind their 6-star weapon. I think that's a very good call by Kuro, and that'll make the free-to-play players feel very comfortable getting used to the character. If you can afford it, obviously the weapon is recommended. That is not a small amount of damage, and getting both weapon resonance and harmonization added on to a brand new tank is going to be very powerful. But if you need to skip right now to save cards for future characters like Pyrorath, feel free to do so. Lastly, his cub. So Wanshi's cub, utility-wise, is very whatever. It has a slow on its active skill. There is no grouping on this cub. But the trade-off for that is it does have some pretty hefty damage bonuses for Wansha. Using the active ability of the cub will give Wansha a very noticeable damage increase on all his main mechanics. And, of course, you also get to have the bonus ice damage by using that skill and maxing it out. The cub is a chunk of damage. It is not nothing. You will definitely notice an improvement if you have the cub, but again, no core gameplay or rotation things are locked out by not having his cub. Feel free to skip it if you need to. If you are interested in getting the cub, of course, I recommend doing it as soon as possible because the cub is currently on 100% rate up since he is the brand new character. But again, if you have to save, if you're trying to make sure you can get however many copies of Lucio or future characters in global sync patches, both the weapon and the cub can be put off for now, so don't feel too bad about that. In terms of what I think you should prioritize for building Wansha and what should be your goals, bare minimum, starting off, highest priority is just getting him to double S. As a free unit, there is no excuse not to get him to double S. Voucher Shop, Dorm Commissions, and the Pain Cage Skulls will all make this a very, very easy rank to obtain. After you get him to double S, I would prioritize either his 6-star weapon or double S3. Weapon probably slightly over the double S3, but the double S3 is a notable boost to his damage and overall performance of the Ice team. Once those two things have been acquired, I would recommend picking up his cub, and then after that, taking him to triple S and beyond, because why not? It's free. Nothing to complain about. And since Wansha is a character that will actually see the field on his team regularly, using vouchers to get him to triple S and beyond is a very worthwhile use of your resources long term. So, TLDR, basically, make sure he's double S. After that, you can prioritize the weapon or double S3 or both. After that, the cub. After that, triple S and beyond. So there's your recommendations on what you should be striving to get out of Wansha long term. So let's go in and talk about team builds. I mentioned this is a little bit more complicated than usual, but it's mostly just because there's so much flexibility in the memory setups for the Ice team now. So in Warzone, what we're going to be doing with Wansha, again, is his standard sub-DPS set, 4-piece Liston, 4-piece Chinjian harmonized. Again, the resonances remain the same. Chu, in this case, if Wansha is holding Chinjian, I put Kadi on my Chu just to buff her ultimate damage and make her even more efficient with clearing waves. Again, you can have Chu carry Chinjian if you prefer. That is a totally viable option. And Isla, for longer fights like Warzone, will be using Da Vinci. She will be our Da Vinci bot for the Warzone, so we'll have 4-piece Da Vinci, and then you're going to want 2-piece Einstein and 2-piece Guinevere for the resistance shred and elemental damage bonuses. Pretty straightforward here. The only real sticking point with the Warzone team setups is going to be whether you want Chinjian on Chu or you want it on Wansha. Chu, just everyone should note, is still the lead of the Ice team. She still outdamages Wansha. But if you do not have Chu, or Chu is underinvested, let's say you only have her at like S5 or double S, but you don't have her 6-star weapon, and you've already got Wansha kitted out to maybe triple S or beyond, then you can look at Wansha as being the more damage carry of the two. But it is important to note that Wansha cannot solo. He will run out of orbs after his rotations have gone through. So you'll want Chu to be able to still come in even if she's the less invested of the two characters. But if that happens, that might be a good reason to swap her over to the Chinjian set and give Wansha Kadi for the extra damage. As for Warzone setups, again, for Warzone, if you are using the meta team, Wansha is going to swap over to being the Da Vinci bot. So he will swap off of his Liston set to pick up the Da Vinci set. As mentioned, again, you can put the class tank skill on this for some increased damage and overall efficiency of the team. If you have Chu, she will be using, again, her main set. Just like before, she is going to be the one taking out the bosses in the Pain Cage. And for Pain Cage, Isla is going to swap over to a full buffing set without Da Vinci. So in this case, what I am doing is I am running 4-piece Guinevere, 2-piece Einstein, and 2-piece Samantha. So the 4-piece Guinevere is nice in Pain Cage. It just speeds up that much more and gives you that much more elemental damage. Einstein doing the same thing. And then or excuse me, Einstein doing the elemental shred, and then Samantha also does the same boost to elemental damage. If you have been playing for a long time and you have access to the Lantern Rite memory from way back when, I don't even have this, so I suspect most of you will not either, but if you do, that is an option to put on instead of using Samantha. There are multiple ways to mix and match this, but the general rule of thumb is if you have Chew for Pain Cage, Isla becomes a total buffing bot set, Wanshi becomes the Da Vinci bot. If you do not have Chew and Wanshi is going to be the main damage dealer, then you'll put Chinjion on your DPS, whether that's Bambi or Lucia Plume or whatever. And then Isla will go back to being the Da Vinci bot, and Wanshi will be the lead damage for the Pain Cage to take out the boss, and I'll have an example of that later. But basically, we have a lot of options and flexibility for where these memories go. It's going to depend on how your ice team is built and how they are equipped, evolved, all that good stuff. But it is important to note that you will always have these two, or you should, because they're both free. There is no reason to not pick up a free amplifier and a free modern tank when you can. They are huge boosts to the ice team, and you should absolutely have them. Again, if you do not have Chew available, feel free to swap in either Bambinata or Lucia Plume. If you have her, they will work fine as an interim. But those are pretty much the team setups. Another thing to note is that with Wanshi coming out and being a new modern tank, we now have another team option for Luna. So if you want to use your fire team for a specific mode and use and save your Luna for another thing, you can pair her now with Wanshi and Isla, and it will work basically just as efficient, if not more so, depending on how invested your fire team is. But we now have another full, completely viable team for Luna, and more importantly, it's a free team. These two are completely free to obtain again, so hey, nice bonus for the Nihil teams. So that covers the entirety of the team builds. If you have any questions or you want some advice on what you think you should be doing for your specific team builds, of course, feel free to leave comments down below. I will try to answer those as soon as I can. But with that, let's go ahead and get into the training mode so I can show you how Wanshi plays and how to do his rotations. So I will be right back. Alright, so let's talk Wanshi's combat and show you how to do his rotation, how to operate him when he comes on the field as a sub DPS. So, first and foremost, Wanshi's rotation is going to look really intimidating and complex. I promise you it's not. You just need to think of his two modes as one long rotation, kind of similar to Chew's rotation. I know it sounds weird to say that one big long rotation is going to make more sense and be easier to digest. Normally it's the polar opposite of that, but I will go through each of Wanshi's attack modes for his core passive, and I think it'll make a lot of sense once we get through everything. So let's go over basics real quick first. Wanshi's basic attack string. Get a good look at this because you'll never see it again. You never need to weave basics with Wanshi. He does not have orb problems. He does not get any core mechanics by weaving in basics. You basically will never need to use basic attack with this character. So as long as you are playing him right, you can basically pretend the basic attack string does not exist. You should not need it. As for his orbs, as you can see, Wanshi has traditional blue and yellow orbs. These operate just like all old school PGR orbs do. If you ping 3 at once, it's a 3 ping, or if Matrix is on, also counts as a 3 ping. You will see off to the right, he has a dedicated red orb. This is for entering his standoff mode, which gets him to his core passives. This mode will be activated by the core passive gauge we see down at the bottom. As you can see, we have the revolver chamber. It's showing 6 bullets loaded by the blue dots, 1 in each chamber. We currently have 0 stacks because we haven't built any by using the core passive yet. And this line underneath the chamber is the gauge for filling the core passive and actually being able to utilize Wanshi's 2 core passive modes. This gauge is filled up by hitting 3 pings. You need 2 3 pings to fill the gauge to full. I've already got it half full because when I brought Wanshi in, as mentioned, if he's at double S, his bring-in attack gives him a 3 ping automatically. So I'm halfway to home on that, so I only need 1 more 3 ping to be able to activate his core passive. So how the core passive works is there are 2 different attack modes you can utilize when going into the core passive. We're going to talk about them both individually, how they work, and then we'll kind of tie it all together to explain the rotation. But how this will work is once the gauge is filled up after I do another 3 ping, The red orb here is going to light up, glow, and mention hold here. This is how you know your core passive is primed and available to use. So, to activate core passive and go into standoff mode with Wanshi, what you're going to do is press and hold the dedicated red orb button, or you can also press and hold dodge, whichever you prefer. I typically prefer the red orb button myself because the first core passive attack string we're going to do involves mashing that red orb. I think it's just more comfortable and simple to do, but whatever makes more sense, it can be dodge or holding the red orb. They are identical in that aspect. When you hold down that button to enter standoff mode, you're going to see Wanshi go into a stance, and the camera is going to zoom in on him somewhat. When you see that camera zoom in, that is your cue to let go of the button you are holding, whether that's the dedicated red orb button or dodge, doesn't matter. You're going to let go, and we are going to enter revolver mode. In revolver mode, what happens is we're going to spam that red orb button until we fire all 6 bullets. After Wanshi fires 6 bullets, he is going to throw his gun, and you're going to see it bounce off the enemy, and you'll see a blue circle appear on the ground. This is very important. Wanshi needs to be near this blue circle to catch his gun. If he catches it, he automatically fully reloads the revolver, and you can pump 6 more bullets into the enemy for a maximum of 12 stacks. 12 stacks is where the revolver mechanic maxes out. That will give you full damage on the revolver ultimate. So let me show you what this looks like in motion. So we're going to press and hold the dedicated orb button. As soon as the camera comes in, we're going to release, and then we're going to start mashing that red orb. So press, hold, release, empty the chamber. Blue circle comes up, catch the gun. Fire 6 more. Ultimate. Call the QTEs. That is revolver mode. That is how that works and covers the entire method of it. It will always max out at 12 stacks in revolver mode. You cannot go higher than that. So that is how the first core passive attack mode works. The second core passive attack mode, we go into it the same way. You're going to need to do 2 3 pings. So a 3 ping, second 3 ping. Now we are completely full on the gauge. You can see the red orb is lit up once again. So for this one, what we're going to do instead of releasing the button to go into standoff core passive and then mashing the red orb, we're going to press and hold basic attack, and once Wanshi goes into his air attacks, we're going to start mashing on the red orb then. You technically only need to hit the red orb twice during this series of attacks to make everything work. I just prefer to mash it because it makes it feel more consistent for when he catches his gun in the middle of this attack string. But you technically only need to do it twice. I think mashing just makes it easier and more consistent, but your mileage may vary on that front. But same exact thing, so we're going to hold the button, go into the core passive for standoff mode, then we're going to press and hold basic attack, and start mashing the R1. So, going in, press and hold basic, start mashing that button. Get to 30, which is the maximum stacks you can get to in the air attack mode, and we will do the air attack ultimate. This is the longer and heavier hitting of the 2 ultimates. So, as you can probably put 2 and 2 together on now, how this works is Wanshi's full rotation is to come in, do the revolver mechanic, get to 12 stacks, do 2 more 3 pings to re-enable standoff mode, go back into standoff mode to do the airstring attack, get to 30 stacks, and then ultimate 1 more time, and that will complete the rotation. You can go into the air attack mode first if you want. There are certain Warzone situations where that might be beneficial. Do note that if you do the air attack mode first before completing a revolver mode rotation, your stacks are going to max out at 24 on the ultimate, so you will not get as much damage on that ultimate. And this is even more amplified if you have Wanshi at triple S or higher, because at triple S is where he gets that bonus for having 30 revolver stacks when he does the air attack ultimate. So that is the entire rotation. It's just do the first core passive standoff mode with revolver, do the revolver ult, re-enable the core passive with 2 3 pings, go back into the core passive standoff mode, do the air attack mode, ult 1 more time, and then we swap Wanshi off to go on to Chu or whatever your sub DPS is if Wanshi is your main DPS. So let me back out, and we're going to go through the entire rotation in one felt swoop here so you can get a feel for it. All right, so we're going to get up close. We'll bring Wanshi in. That first bring in will count as a 3 ping, so we only have to do 1 more 3 ping to start the rotation. I'll try and notarize everything as we go here. So bring in, 3 ping, press hold, release, fire 6, catch the gun, fire 6, first ult. Call QTEs. Matrix ping, 3 ping, press and hold basic attack, mash the red orb, get to 30 stacks, let the bullets run out, ultimate. Call QTEs. Rotation over, call in Chu. That's it. That's the Wanshi rotation. You'll also note that I got both a Da Vinci proc and then a secondary QTE proc on Chu. That is due to my Wanshi being triple S and thus having the lowered cooldown on swap in. So if you do have him triple S or higher, do note you get an extra ping with Chu before you have to bring her onto the field after the air attack ultimate. So just a little bit of extra bonus damage. You'll want to be quick about that because if you do it too slow, then you'll be waiting for her cooldown to finish her QTE attacks so you can actually call her back onto the field. But that's the entire gist. Very, very simple. You do 2-3 pings to enable standoff mode, go into standoff mode, do the standoff mode rotation, call your ult. If it was the first one, then you do the other standoff mode with the anti-air, or the anti-air, God, the fighting game player in me is a problem sometimes. The air attack string. Finish off the air attack string, get to 30 stacks on the core passive, call ult, and then that's it. That's your full Wanshi rotation. So, again, it seems like a lot, and it sounds like a lot of moving parts, and I guess it kind of is, but it's honestly very simple and easy to maintain. The only real tricky part of getting used to Wanshi's rotation is that going into standoff mode takes a little bit longer than you might think. You've got to hold this for a bit. So it might feel a little clunky, a little weird at first. Don't worry, it will feel very natural once you get familiar with the character. And then, of course, the other big thing is just making sure you always catch the gun during the reload animations. That is key. If you miss the gun catch, you are going to bork the entire rotation really bad. You will not get max stacks, you will lose a ton of damage, and it's just a big feels bad. So those are your two big cores, making sure you hold the standoff mode long enough to actually enter the core passives, and making sure you catch your gun. So I'm going to go ahead and queue up a Warzone and a Pain Cage demonstration so you can actually see Wanshi in action, and I'll go over any little nuances and stuff in those up next. All right, so we're going to start with the Warzone demonstration here. This is the mode you will use Wanshi on field the most, obviously, unless you do not have Chu available. Then we'll show you how to use Wanshi in Pain Cage. Spoilers, it's exactly the same. But this is going to be a demonstration on how to get the most out of this character in Warzone alongside Chu for being her sub DPS. So a couple things to note before I start this video. My Chu is triple S, so I will be utilizing her triple S rotation ability, where instead of doing the 3 ping, 1 ping, 3 ping, and then 3 pinging 3 sets of orbs, I do 3 ping, 1 ping, hold basic attack, then do the 3 pings, so I get the benefit of both her ultimates at once. If you want more information on that, it's all listed in the Chu Shukra guide I made a couple months ago, so feel free to go check that out. But just note that this might be slightly different than your rotation if you have Chu at below triple S. If you have Chu at below triple S, what you're going to do is the standard Chu Shukra rotation. You're going to do her fast ult, then you're going to do her full ult, and then you're going to swap back to Wanshi. But in my case, since Chu is triple S, I leave her on the field a little longer and typically end up doing a 3rd or even 4th ultimate in her rotation. So I'm still kind of feeling out what the absolute most efficient way to play this team is with her at triple S and Wanshi at triple S. But this was a pretty good run, so I'm satisfied with using this for the demonstration. So we'll bring in, go immediately into the revolver passive, catch her gun, revolver round 2, fire the ultimate, call the QTEs, call the second QTE, get knocked out, but easy recovery, nothing big deal there. Go into the air passive round 2, last bullet, call ult, QTEs, and Chu comes on field. So Chu, again, I'll start with the fast ult, get rid of the first thing on the field, and the second thing for that matter. And then now we're going to go into the triple S rotation. So 3 ping, single ping, 3 ping. Out of the hold attack. Single 3 ping for the ult. Call QTEs. And as you can see, Wanshi is able to come back on the field now. But because I have so many orbs available and I'm using triple S Chu, I go ahead and go into the passive one more time. Call her QTEs. And now we're going to go ahead and swap back to Wanshi to keep the amplifier bonus going. Same song and dance. 6 bullets. Catch gun. 6 more bullets. Fast ult. This ult animation is so sick. So cool. And then we go into the air attack ult. Mash the red orb to make sure we spend all our bullets. Catch the gun. Fire the second rounds. Air attack ult. Call the QTEs. And we're back to Chu. That's it. This is the entire rotation. Again, if your Chu is not triple S, you'll just do fast ult, full ult, and then you'll swap back to Wanshi, do both his rotations, and rotate that ad infinitum until you're out of time. But this feels very, very, very smooth to play. If you have Chu at triple S, you get to be a bit more selective on how long you want her to stay on the field. You're still going to want to be rotating her regularly, even at triple S or higher, just because that amplifier bonus for swapping a character in is no joke. It does boost damage notably. I tested this same Warzone route by letting Chu come in and do somewhere between 5 or 6 rotations. Basically until she was completely out of orbs. And it was notably a lower score, like about 450k lower than this run was. So even if your Chu is decked out, fully invested, and you have her at triple S, you still should be rotating Wanshi in regularly to keep the amplifier bonus going. But once you have both these characters down, wow, my god, do they absolutely shred the Ice War Zone now. It is nutty how far I was able to take this run. I've never seen the high 20s on single boss waves. Not even close. So this has been a pretty big boost. It's very, very impressive to see what Wanshi can do. I am very, very impressed with his output. And again, not everyone's going to have him at triple S right away. I hoarded vouchers for literally like the last 2 months just to make sure I could immediately get him to triple S. But he functions so well even if you don't have him there. He's still going to just drop damage all over the place. His shred is incredible, and he just feels great to play, man. This character is really fun. I absolutely enjoy playing him. I'm a big fan of the fact that he gets to go full Guilty Gear and just air dash around the field. That's always fun for me. So yeah, pretty easy to get. Once you get the rotation down, it is very easy to get your mind wrapped around it and just go between the two characters. So that will wrap it up for the Warzone rotation. Let me go ahead and go grab a pain cage example for you all if you are stuck using Wanshi as your main DPS. All right, so if you do not have Chu Shukra available and you need to use an older Ice DPS, what you'll do is you'll just make them the Da Vinci bot. You will have Isla acting as the buffer with Guinevere, Einstein, and Samantha. And then we're just going to do Wanshi's base rotation. This is Machiavelli on Hell difficulty, and you're going to see Machiavelli will not even survive the entirety of the revolver rotation. The ult just ends it right here and there. So we go into the revolver rotation, catch the gun, empty the chamber, go into ult, Dedge, gone, bye, later. Easy stuff. So if for some reason you do not have Chu available, then this will be the route you want to go. Wanshi plays exactly the same. It's just we're making him the focal point DPS instead of buffing to work with Chu. So pretty straightforward, pretty simple. Ideally, you're going to have Chu available, and Wanshi will just be a buffer in Phantom Pain Cage. But if he's your main Ice DPS for now, as you can see, he does just fine with the mode. All right, that's going to do it for the Wanshi Lucid Dreamer Guide. I really, really enjoy playing this character. He is so stylish. I think the gun catch mechanic is rad. Like, you feel so badass when you do it properly, and it's easy to do properly, which is great. But in general, he is just a massive boost for the Ice team. He has so much more shred than Chrome did. He absolutely just shreds damage all over the place when he's on the field. I am very, very shocked, honestly, at how much damage this character does for being a free unit. He is not far behind Chu. He's not going to outdamage Chu long run, but the fact that he is able to give her a break and make Warzone more smooth and achieve way higher scores is really, really nice. Chu being a soloist is great. Like, having a soloist character is always nice because it means you don't have to necessarily have a whole team built to succeed. But with Wanshi being a competent and valuable sub DPS for the Ice team, it now means we can consistently rotate between these two and keep the amplifier passive going for the bring in where they get bonus attack. And that really does ramp up the damage for the Ice team significantly. And of course, best of all, he's free, man. Like, his character is completely free to get. He is not locked behind his 6-star weapon to function. You literally cannot ask for anything more. Kuro has given us quite the boon here in Wanshi Lucid Dreamer. He is an incredible tank. He costs nothing to get, and if you are willing to invest even a little bit to get the weapon and the cub and then spend some of your hard-earned vouchers to get him to SS3 or even SS and beyond, you will not feel like your investment was wasted. This character just does exactly what he says on the tin. He shreds ice defense. He is excellent for sub DPSing alongside Chu, and even more importantly, he is going to be a key cog for the glaciation affix that will come into the content starting next patch. So, absolutely no excuse not to get this character. He is free. You do not have to worry about, trying to divvy up resources if you should pull him and then have enough for the next one. No, you're good. Just go to the dorm, spin your dorm Doritos, get yourself a copy of our Sleepy Boy, get him to SS at minimum, either through vouchers or Pain Cage or both. And then, yeah, the sky's the limit from there. So let me know if you have any questions, need any clarifications on the rotation, any of the basic mechanics and all that. If I forgot anything or made any mistakes, I'll leave a comment down in the pinned area so I can correct those. I am far from infallible, and every so often I don't write my script properly, so anything needs corrected, I'll take care of there. But yeah, just let me know what your plans are for Wanshi. How far are you going to be building him up? Who else are you investing your vouchers in? All that good stuff. And yeah, any questions, comments, leave them below. As always, if you want to do the like, subscribe, all the fun YouTube stuff, keep the algorithm rolling and keep the channel functioning, that is always greatly appreciated. But as always, thank you so much for watching these videos and supporting the PGR content. That's all I got for now. I will have some more stuff coming this week. And we have some more stuff in this patch that I really want to talk about that will probably be of very notable import for newer players who are still building their accounts, especially once we get some banners up here. So that's going to do it. Y'all take care. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you on the next one. Peace for now.